Good song. Hollow Knight. No one truly understands what Hollow Knight is really about. Like, what is going on with the flower? Why the plague? What is a void? What is an essence? What does Darth Vader, Neo, Nissan Al-Gaib, and Jesus have to do with this? Who are the Moth Tribe? Why do I have to beat up my own ghost to get my wallet back? What is wrong with the radiance? Like, chill? What is going on with the Pale King's children in the abyss?
Did you see it?
And why is the king pale? Too much sunscreen? Carl Jung? Buddha? Jesus? What is the whole gang doing here? This and more coming up, explaining the deep underlying meaning of Hollow Knight, the story of all stories. Hollow Knight works and hits hard because it's not just a beautifully crafted masterpiece visually and auditorily, but because Team Cherry got the archetypes right. This ancient story we've been telling each other for thousands of years that deeply resonates with us, even if you don't really truly understand why. I mean, think about it. How could that even be? Is the reason for the popularity of the game is because it's pretty? Sure, it helps, but it won't give you tens of millions of copies sold and a cult-like following just because it's pretty. So let's take a look. Why exactly? Major, heavy spoilers ahead, obviously. You've been warned. This is going to be dense, bear with me. Just real quick, let me give you a very short summary of what happens in Hollow Knight first. Ancient bugs with only instinct worship the void. No mind to think. No will to break. It was a pre-conscious era. No identity, no ego, no awareness, but only instincts. Then there came the ancient tribe, the Moth Tribe, forming collective hive-mind-like thinking. These bugs have collectively dreamed up and worshipped the same god, the radiance. Then we get the arrival of the Pale King, who brings individuality and higher thought, a new kind of higher being steering away from the collectivist mindset. Now, the Radiance did not like that. Not one bit. And as a revenge, the Radiance plagued the minds of bugs, causing terror and chaos. Pale King puts Hollow Knight into a stasis and tries to counter the Radiance with the creation of void vessels that are immune to its mind control and able to replace the Radiance. From these vessels we will find the perfect chosen one, the Hollow Knight, the hollowest of them all, who will seal away the Radiance. But soon we will learn that it wasn't hollow enough, and plague spreads to the kingdom, and then our little hero arrives, the Knight, who is going to replace the Hollow Knight. Or does he? Actually, he accesses the Radiance through the Hollow Knight in the Dreamland and defeats it. Then the Godseekers arrive later on, and we get two more endings where the Void consumes the world after defeating the Ultra Mega Deluxe Absolute Radiance, and where if we get some rando flower to the Godseekers, they will just gonna disappear and everything's gonna be just fine. So what gives? What the hell is going on? What is all of this? Okay, some of the upcoming ideas may not be explicitly canon to Hollow Knight, or at all, but I try to fill in the void with their literary meaning, and otherwise I'll try to remain genuine to the original story's interpretation as much as possible. We will first take a look at Radiance, Pale King, the Void, and the Vessels. It's the ancient light, or the false light. Moth Tribe originally worshipped this light. It was a dreaming tribe with emotions, the Moth Tribe, because you know, moths love the light.
It's so beautiful!
Radiance Dreamlight produces group mind identity. She awakens communal consciousness, shared dreams, collective identity, like spiritual unity. Gives meaning and purpose through collective identity. Represents order through this collective identity. Basically your classical god, classical religion interpretation. Radiance is a dream, not a physical creature. It is part of the collective unconscious that is in all of us and affects all of us. But what the hell is a dream? I'm glad you asked. The dream realm takes place in the mind, not in the physical world. It is a realm of memories, emotions, regrets, and identity fragments. All of it manifests there. The radiance rules this dream realm, the god of this realm. According to the game, dream comes from the mind, and memory that is shaped by the dream creates essence, or memory's energy what dreams are made of. So dream essence is like aspiration, nightmare essence is fear. When someone physically dies, substance disappears, their dream essence drop. This is an actual substance in the game, and substance is just the stuff that is made out of. Okay, so one could say the radiance represents the spiritual, the mind world, the imaginatory, some dreams that we all share in one way or another in the collective unconscious. It's the God image archetype. And the light sounds something cool like illumination, enlightenment. The truth was brought to us. But I hope you already see where this is going. You know who brought us the light, right? Who is the light bringer? The radiance is a blinding light. It literally blinds you. It behaves similarly like a Luciferian fallen angel in the Christian teachings, corrupts the bugs, the main antagonist of the game. But the radiance also behaves like a biblical deity whose followers abandon her for a new idol. Like the God of the Old Testament, she demands remembrance, is sustained by worship, becomes wrathful and forgotten. So the radiance basically acts as a classical god. So what the hell is going on? Who the hell is she? Is she the good guy or is she the bad guy now? More on that later. With the arrival of the Pale King, that old god became incompatible and outdated with the new system that the Pale King brought to us. Consciousness and higher thought. This toxic radiance had to be fully removed. Pale King awakened selfhood, personal identity, individuality, higher thought. Represents order through individuality. While the radiance is the creator of order in the mind world, the Pale King is the architect of the order in the physical world. So the radiance and Pale King both create a form of order. Pale King represents physical awareness of reality and grounds us in it. Physical world oriented, rational, rather than spiritual. After the forgetting of the ancient dreams and radiance that is in all of us, brought forth the plague in our minds. I mean, in the minds of bugs, of course. We are talking about bugs here. So Pale King had no choice but to put the city into a stasis, serving as no change allowed, only order, no chaos. His answer was pure order, otherwise any spark could have brought enormous chaos and therefore the destruction of Hollownest and its entire kingdom. Pale King could not allow that to happen, so his answer was law and oppression. The Pale King is basically the Old Testament serpent, who brought self-awareness and knowledge. It's a rebel against the original order, the original construct whose power was threatened by this new force. Hence why it's represented as something negative by the old god. Except in the game's world, Pale King is the one who holds the power, so the radiance is represented as an enemy, who is a threat to Pale King's architected, materialistic world. So which one is the bad guy? Before we get to answer that, let's take a little detour about identity. It is synonymous with having a mask on. Identity is crucial to understand Hollow Knight's story. It is part of the game's central theme. Before the current time, you existed as a collective, part of a group, but now you are aware and conscious. You realize you are an individual. You gained awareness of your own personhood, giving rise to your personal identity. Who am I? A lot of it can be boiled down to, it's your memories. One idea of how could this have happened? How could we have developed this deep understanding of who we are as like having an identity is a very interesting question, and I don't really think that anyone really has a real answer for this. But we could have ideas. You start to delve into your own mind and explore that very idea as a meditation, or maybe was it drugs, but that very idea opened the gateway to a new perspective on the world that allowed us to get to enlightenment. Who is the mask maker? He was brought forth by the Pale King and to his command, the mask maker shaped the mask of the Pale King's subjects. He helped construct the very selfhood of Hollownest's people, meaning their identity, not their ego. Identity is your mask, ego is your attachment to the mask. Okay, so after the corruption, Pale King has this idea to destroy the radiance with the void. But what the hell is even a void? The void is the primordial deep. Its main characteristic is the absence of form and shape. It's about light versus darkness, or form versus formlessness. While radiance represents light, mind, collective identity, dream, order, void is darkness, no mind, erasure, formlessness, no identity. So Pale King grabbed and shaped the void into a vessel that can carry the void inside and destroy the radiance. Because the idea is that the void dissolves identity. But what is a vessel? If not something identifiable. If it's not an identity, then what? What is he doing? Did he really think he's just gonna grab some void and scoop it in a tortilla? More on that in a second. So what is a void made out of? Nothing. It's the dissolution of everything. Dissolution of identity, form, purpose, memory, everything. It's literally nothingness. Since both the Pale King and Radiance represent order, the void dissolves both of the Radiance and the Pale King. What the void does. The void has multiple interpretations and different traditions looking at it slightly differently. In the real world, it would mean something that doesn't exist. Absence of things, or something that destroys the structure, orderliness of things, like entropy, or it's maybe the null point energy, or maybe a black hole in a concentrated form. It's the destruction of material order. So it's not necessarily about destroying the material, but the order structure of the material. Now from the mind perspective, there can be two interpretations, or maybe more, I don't know. First is the interpretation of the very structure of the world, and void being empty of real world programming. Two is void in the mind as the absence of ego that enforces an identity, making you a malleable force that can turn into anything, being able to become a pure force without hesitation, without a second thought. You just go for it. It's egolessness. The goal of emptying the mind and getting rid of ego is not to achieve blank stupor, but to reach a state of pure, undifferentiated awareness. This is why people throw around the word wake up or awakening. It's supposed to be an awakened state where you consciously interact with the world and you are aware of everything that happens around you. You consciously pay attention. You are present in the moment. Like mindfulness meditations can get you into such states. It's about being able to perform without hesitation and higher processing, locking you in a constant state of who am I here? What am I to do here? As a me, how do I conduct myself in this situation that only holds you back? Dropping the ego allows you to just be and just act, to be able to just execute and be the sword instead of just someone who wields a sword. This idea of destroying structure and identity ego will be our central theme, and we will discuss it through the lens of the other traditions in a second. Okay, let me yap a little bit more about the nature of void. The void is a very interesting idea. It has come about thousands of years ago from many religious stories and traditions. Let me introduce some fun ideas. What does a void weigh?
But how much does a shadow weigh? It might sound like a silly question, because it is. I mean, a shadow cannot be put on a scale and weighed, but the material that it falls on top of can be weighed. And we know that light has energy. In fact, when light encounters an object, it pushes that object.
Well, thanks, Michael, but that wasn't really helpful. It's not an object. It doesn't really exist materially. It's rather a process, mediating between different structures and orders. Which one gets more space in the landscape of ideas and our culture? Quick maths. The void, or the number 0, has very interesting properties if you've done math before. It has a lot of exceptions when we can use it. 1 divided by 0, from nothing, you can get anything. Like, look at this equation. Essentially, you can plug anything into it and we can make it equal to any other number just because we divide by 0 at some point. We can create something from nothing, and obviously this is why it's not allowed in math. Nothing and everything having this weird converse relationship, being the ultimate god of being, space and matter. So right now we are looking at 3 different types of God. The radiance being the light order, spiritual order, Pale King as higher order or earthly order, and void being the dissolution of any order, or simply put, it's chaos. Okay, but why these 3? Where do they come from? Well, let me tell you, it's already in your brain. It was constructed this way. You are literally this way, you exist this way, your brain is constructed this way. The reptilian brain, composed of the brainstem and cerebellum, controls vital survival functions such as breathing, heart rate, and balance. Essentially, you just exist. The mammalian brain, or limbic system, emerged in early mammals and is responsible for emotions, memory, and social behaviors, with key structures including the amygdala, hippocampus, and hypothalamus. The neocortex, the most recent evolutionary addition, is responsible for higher cognitive functions such as language, abstract thought, and conscious reasoning, and constitutes about 80% of the human brain. Do you see it now? This is your brain. It's a great conspiracy by the evolution. This is literally our reality. Void is reverting back to the reptilian brain. It is about turning off the heavy top layer processing so you can become a sword, not just wield it. The neocortex is Pale King and the mammalian brain is the radiance. It's all just different stages of development in evolution. We've all been played. Every time the brain levels up, the previous interpretations, the previous worldviews become hostile towards the new one. And now they have to fight it out. What is the right decision in this context? This is what this is all about. Do you understand now? Okay, so how does a vessel play a role in this great triangle? The vessels are focused, concentrated voids. Void is only capable of bringing destruction in a concentrated form, in a focused form, in a manifested form. Otherwise they are just nothing. The Knight, or Ghost as Hornet calls him, but I'll keep referring to him as the Knight, who is on this mission and was created for the sole purpose to destroy the radiance. That is what all the vessels were implanted to try to achieve. The Pale King decided that out of thousands of vessels, one will be chosen as the best one to contain it. The Hollow Knight. The rest will be discarded. Our Knight was one of those discarded children. Do you get it now? It's not just the Pale King chose a formless, identityless thing and turned it into a form, an identity. It also put it up to a competition and chose the best one, the number one, and then loved him, bonded with him, with the fucking void. Knight has an ego too. Good job, buddy. Look how big he grew. Look how big his ego is. He's the Hollow Knight, the hollowest of them all, the chosen one. Do you get it now? Why he failed? He's far from hollow, far from empty. He may not be hollow, but don't you worry. Here comes the real Hollow Knight, who is truly hollow this time. This is why we need to replace the Hollow Knight. He's far from empty. That's the very needed replacement and the arrival of our Knight. This is why he is small. He has a small ego. That's right. Our Knight has an ego. It's a tortilla. In fact, the Knight's journey is fundamentally about engaging with dreams, whereas the Pale King's solution was to eliminate dreams. The Dream Nail is the antithesis of the Pale King's approach. While the Pale King suppresses dreams, the Dream Nail opens them. Getting access to the Dream Nail is a crucial moment. It is the beginning of understanding a different path, other than the Pale King's oppression. Wholeness is full of reverberating memories stored in objects, locations, and dreams. The King's Soul is made from the 2 higher beings. It unlocks this buried memory. Acquiring the King's Soul connects you to your origin and awakens you. And then when you enter the abyss, at the very bottom, you face your own reflection and then you dream nail it. You are aware. You have an identity. You are a thing. You're literally a vessel. Of course you have an ego. You gain understanding of your origin, of your memories, and the past. And from these memories, you realize your true identity. And then King's Soul shatters Void heart forms, and the knight goes on to accept that he is not a child of the Pale King, but a child of the void. When the void heart forms, that is the moment of integration. The knight does not reject the darkness, he accepts it. By acknowledging their nature, that I am void, they unify the chaos. The focus is nothing else but the will emerging from the unconscious. He is essentially Neo, Lisan al-Gaib, and Jesus. We will discuss the Chosen One image in a second, but let's take a little detour first. We looked at all the major characters, now let's see what forces push them around. The forces that govern our lives. We must understand what forces different ideas are at war with one another, competing for dominance. We need this to fully understand the underlying mechanics, the metaphysics of Hollow Knight, to understand the radiance, Pale King, and the void in depth. It's all about the process in these different stories, where these different types of forces clash. This is war. There is always going to be two layers of existence, two universes, and how they organize based on that, and then disorganize in order to reorganize, aka the void, the third thing, as a process in time. The war between the spiritual versus physical. We talked about who is the good guy, Pale King or the Radiance, but realistically we cannot make moral claims here. Neither the Pale King nor Radiance is a good or bad. They both just fighting to do the right things, but only from their own perspective, what they see as the right approach to organized society. They fail to see each other, causing friction and unnecessary fight, and if things get out of control and one dominates the other by a long shot, the collapse of the system follows. Reality is that they're not even supposed to be at war with one another, but they fail to see this. They keep entering in each other's realm, causing the fundamental issues. The spiritual leader here being the Radiance, essentially acting as a biblical god. Pale King acting as a physical realm's leader, god figure. Void being the destruction, dissolution of either in favor of one or the other, or simply put just acting as a destructive force to one. We will see down the line how two forces fight for domination, being each other's antithesis. Which one should dominate which field in our world? When is the spiritual the answer and when is it material or physical? This is an ideological cultural war where balance is found through the process of the two interacting and observing the results through time and culture. The war between the individual versus collective. Radiance represents the collective consciousness, where we unite in dream and in spirit. It's about the group identity and group as one. While Pale King created the awareness of one's self, individuality, it's about only the individual as a singular unit of sovereign agent. How do we organize ourselves in society? Which gets priority or more important? It is a personal preference, or this may be an emergent property or something. We may be isolated and depressed in a society that is very individualistic, very disconnected from one another compared to the communal way of life, as we did long time ago. We are social creatures after all. The war between order versus chaos. Pale King and Radiance both represent order, just in a different realm, and Void being chaos, the destruction, dissolution of order. Okay, this is the most fundamental abstraction that there can be, that represents all the previous ideas fighting down to its core. There is reality, aka our universe and all of its laws, and inside of it, there are humans with their minds, simulating another reality. This friction generates all problems in our human world, all our conflicts. What's philosophical problems foundation is this fundamental irreconcilable issue of the two worlds, the universe and the way it just is, versus our mind and our need to reorganize reality so that it serves us. This is our struggle as a species, a human condition. And somewhere in between is the mediator between the two types of order. There is the void, playing the role of process, turning one thing into another. First you have to remove what was there first, the destruction of previous form and shape, so that a new form can emerge from the previous structure. While the different types of forces play out their cards, these processes are described in these archetypal stories, such as the Bible. The Hollow Knight, the game, is literally the Bible, Gnostic teachings, Buddha, the Eastern teachings, Carl Jung, Neo, Lisan al-Gaib. You are the Hollow Knight. We are the Hollow Knight. And he's Jesus. He's literally Jesus. The Knight is literally Jesus. In both stories, the Bible and Hollow Knight, knowledge leads to suffering. Consciousness brings both civilization and a form of corruption. We are capable of bringing forth consciously both, and this causes a form of corruption. Higher thought also brought us something else, and that is knowledge of the future. Pale King had this ability of foresight, friction with reality between what is and what we imagine the future to be that would be better for us brings forth suffering. Now you know you have to work hard for a safe, prosperous future. You're not oblivious to this fact anymore. This creates stress that pushes you to create a better future. This is a form of plague in the mind. Look at Abel and Cain. They both worked hard and sacrificed a lot, but God only answered to Abel. Cain had a choice to make. He had the ability for a choice to make. What do you do when God does not answer you? Pale King did what he had to do to avoid what he foresaw, even if it meant he had to sin. 3. Knowledge of oneself, self-awareness. Individuality or hyper-awareness of oneself, approaching it from a self-preservation perspective, and then after that adding the collective, the equation, arriving at society, therefore morality, therefore good and evil. There is no morality without society. Play comes because of the first sin, allows it to come to play. And as I mentioned before, radiance is basically the Old Testament God, and Pale King kinda sorta plays the devil's role in the Old Testament as the serpent, bringing forth knowledge and higher thought. And he also represents Old Testament legalism. So as much as it is a little bit vague, one thing is certain, they are at war. Okay, so when the covenant breaks, meaning the deal that was made with God, corruption spreads, hollowness follows this exact pattern. They stopped worshipping the radiance, so it released the plague. Becoming the Hollow Knight is a failed Christ archetype. In the Bible structure, the Savior bears the sin of the world, dies or is imprisoned on behalf of the people, breaks the curse, brings lasting freedom. But in the sealed siblings ending, you bear the sins, you are sealed away, but you do not break the curse. The sacrifice is flawed, because the Hollow Knight is not truly empty. The kingdom remains lost. It's a broken Christ archetype, a failed Messiah created by a flawed king. You're not a redeemer, you are a replacement sacrifice. Just like sacrifices in the Old Testament are insufficient. Now the Knight is literally Jesus. The humble origins of obscure birth, origins in lowly places, arrives from the outside. Just like Jesus had to flee to Egypt for safety, the Knight had to escape the abyss to live. Both rejected by his fathers, by God, by the biological dad, and we do not know much about his other father who raised him. He was kinda around or whatever. When you feel lost, you look into the past to find answers to where to head. This is why the Forsaken Father is a strong archetype. The empty vessel without any prior shaping, only possible if they are empty, without pre-programming, without this father figure. Jesus has the sacrificial role taking up the cross. Jesus takes on the sin himself, while the Knight takes the radiance into himself. Redemption comes through taking care of corruption inward. A self-focused Messiah cannot sacrifice himself. A prideful Messiah cannot take on the sins of the world. A power-obsessed Messiah cannot die for others willingly. Jesus' emptiness makes him capable of bearing humanity's suffering, carrying the burden for others, giving his life freely, and becoming the pure vessel of salvation. Jesus had to be empty, otherwise he cannot rule, he's gonna get corrupted, meaning he cannot have an ego. This is why the Hollow Knight failed. Wasn't truly empty, couldn't hold the throne, which caused the corruption. And similarly, the Knight had to be, just like Jesus, empty. From a New Testament perspective, emptiness is kenosis. To save humanity from the inside, he had to fully enter the human condition. Kenosis is how the infinite enters the finite. Salvation is accomplished not by raw power, destruction of enemies, a cosmic show of force, but through humility, obedience, suffering love. In Christian thought, to be fully of divine love, you must be emptied of ego. Jesus is the perfect vessel because he has no self-assertion, no selfish will, no desire for earthly power. His inner emptiness makes him transparent to God, open to perfect love, pure in intention, and untempted by worldly pride. This egolessness is fundamental to the idea of void in a psychological sense, and therefore to the night. Christian mystics often say, where there is self, God cannot be. When the self is empty, only God remains. So Jesus' emptiness is a full of expression of divine love, the perfect union of humanity and God, the total absence of ego, the complete presence of the divine. This is why he is considered the perfect mediator. Christ represents transformation, victory over sin, not just managing it. Meaning instead of just killing people, let's ask, why are we doing this? Maybe there's a deep underlying psychological cause to the corruption, going against our deeply embedded human nature. So, the night's true ending follows the Christ model. No more cycles, no more sacrifices, no more flawed vessels. Evil is faced, confronted, and defeated. This is salvation by courage and compassion, not by ritual or repression, as the Pale King did it. And the night and all the vessels were just a tool for a purpose. They were not treated as people. Sacrifice yourself for the system that the fathers put together. Do not make it anew. And they desperately try to hold it together. You are not a new agent, you are a mere device for the old established system. This also makes it a family drama, as all great stories will be. In this reading, the Pale King is a failed Old Testament king who tried to save his people through law and sacrifice because they abandoned their God. It failed because the sacrifice was imperfect. The Knight is the New Testament Messiah, perfect, silent, and empty of sin, who descends into hell, unifies the souls of the dead, and defeats the source of sin once and for all, not by containing it, but by destroying it. Now we get something more interesting, the Gnostic teachings. This is very similar to the Bible, as it is kind of an extension of it. This interpretation is even way closer to Hollow Knight than the plain Bible interpretation. The Gnostics cared first and foremost about knowledge, gnosis meaning knowledge. In the Gnostic tradition, the creator who shaped the flawed material world is called the Demiurge. The biblical Old Testament God is actually this false god, and conversely the Radiance is also a false god, or as they call them, a Demiurge. Demiurge is someone who claims authority, but they demand worship as the supreme ultimate being. They control minds through illusion, or they punish awakening from the dream or independence, or breaking free from the matrix. This is both the Radiance and the Pale King in Hollow Knight, a false god. They both, the Pale King and Radiance, represent order. Hollow Knight just divided them up into two distinct types of gods. One in the mind forcing us into order in the material world, and one directly in the material world creating order. Hollow Knight's cosmology maps closer to Gnostic Christianity than Orthodox Christianity. Gnosis is like selfhood, higher thought. The Radiance is the false god, Demiurge. Pale King is also another flawed god, Demiurge. The Knight is a spark of true divinity incarnate, like Jesus. Infection is spiritual blindness. Shade Lord is a self-aware fragment of the true source. Okay, so who the hell is the real god then, if not the Pale King or the Radiance? The one true god, the god of gods, is the monad or the one. And this monad emanates the pleroma that then creates aeons that are divine powers. Hey, stay with me. Okay, let me take a little detour about gods. The Bible God is a human god, one of the weakest, a lesser god. It's as strong as the humans collectively are. Real gods are not real in a sense that they are not material. They're like time and chaos and stuff. They are ideas. So the Bible God gonna be a weaker one that tries to rule over humans rather than a true universal god. Okay, so there is this girl, Sophia, one of the aeons that come from the monad, representing wisdom, who attempts to bring wisdom into manifestation, driven by a desire to know the hidden source of the divine, attempted to emanate independently, resulting in the creation of this false god, the Demiurge. So from the monad that creates aeons that are divine powers, Sophia created the Demiurge who fashioned the material universe and is often seen as a flawed or hostile ruler of the lower material world. Sophia falls by overreaching her domain, and then she tries to repair her mistake by asking for help from other aeons. This predicament often leads to suffering, sacrifice, and the creation of savior figures. Sophia recognized her offspring, the demiurge, as an anomaly and left him before he woke up. When he woke up and saw no other gods, he assumed that he was in fact one and the only true God. This is one of the interpretations. Some random YouTube comment I read at some point. And Yahweh was born. He says, I am who I am, because he got no name and doesn't know who or where he is from. I don't think he is evil. He himself is a tragedy, and he genuinely wants company. He said to Adam, I will make you a mate, for it is not good to be alone. And he really meant it. I kinda feel sorry for him, but I can't worship him. These exact lines really reminded me of the man from the notes from the underground, reminded me of the person who wrote the Bible, a sad, basement dweller man. If one was to psychoanalyze the original writer of the Bible, I think you would get someone exactly like Dostoevsky. God told them to not eat the fruit so he can remain in power solely, and you'll remain the sheeple so you'll never find the hidden truth, gnosis, that spark that is in all of us. There is no real moral attachment to these creatures in Gnostic myth, but it's rather descriptive of their nature. The demiurge is not Satan, he is simply a lower being mistaken for the highest. The true conflict becomes false unity, radiance, versus true knowledge, selfhood or primordial freedom, the void. And this is the approach I believe we should take when we look at Genesis as well. It simply just describes what happened. Moralizing it is a mistake. Think of your brain development that we already talked about. Its structure is a fact, not a moral misstep. So the story is to break free from this false god, the demiurge, and gain knowledge and freedom. There is this spark that is in all of us, making us capable of creation. Neo was never a chosen one. Lisa and Al-Gaib was explicitly not a chosen one. They just simply believed. There is no magic chosen one, no external god that chooses. That spirit, that spark is in you. It's always been. This is often the story of the chosen one and what the writers want you to know, and why the New Testament story and Jesus' path is so powerful. We're gonna talk a lot more about the chosen one in a little bit. There is a constant flip on the script like, no you, who is really the enemy? Was it the Radiance or the Pale King? Everyone is just pointing at each other. Is the Radiance the devil, or was it the Pale King all along? Reality is that both of them just do what they were programmed to do themselves. They are nothing more than just what they are, representing two ways of mental development and genetical predisposition, personal personality perspective, representing two ways of existence. Neither is above, right or wrong, they are just what they are. Different structures approaching things from two different perspectives. Only when you put it to perspective, in terms of what are you trying to achieve, it gains any true real meaning of this is the right thing to do or that is the right thing to do. It has always been the matter of context. This is what we have discussed already when we talked about the forces being at war. Carl Jung. There is a reason why everyone keeps yapping about Jung. He actually knew what he was talking about. Jungian psychology works perfectly when it comes to understanding our oppressed hidden psychology. A Jungian analysis reveals Hollow Knight as a story about individuation, the process of integrating the unconscious self to achieve psychological wholeness. The Knight's journey representing a quest to integrate its own divided and unexplored, not yet understood nature. The process of individuation is also a process of breaking off of other debilitating and restraining forces to become your own self. Break off the chains that others put on you and that limiting force that is often the very people who raise you. The individuation process is not about some external laws that you were told you must obey, but finding those true eternal things inside of you that define you so you can set your own path. This self-determination is also an important theme of the story. Jungian psychology. Humans share a collective unconscious, a psychic substrate containing innate archetypes, such as the hero, shadow, mother, light, darkness, death and rebirth, etc. These emerge in dreams, myths, religions, and art. These archetypes express deep, instinctive patterns of psyche, the mind's way of grappling with universal human conditions, such as fear, growing, self, transformation, conflict. The Pale King represents the hyper-rational ego or tyrant father. Psychologically, he is obsessed with order, geometry, and machines. He wants to suppress the messy, chaotic instincts, the Radiance, by locking them in a box. Its failure, as Jung warns us, if the ego tries to repress the unconscious entirely, it results in neurosis. The king's attempt to seal the radiance away caused the infection. Repression never works forever. He ordered the mask maker to create all the masks for the bugs. This is what it's called, the persona. In Jungian terms, identity is a persona and the self-image, the devouring mother, the radiance, or the collective unconscious. The radiance represents the negative collective unconscious. She is the light that burns away individuality. In the dream ending, she offers a hive mind where no one has to think or feel alone. This is psychosis, the total loss of individual self into the mass. The anima. Jung's definition, the female aspect of the male psyche, serving as a guide to the unconscious. She's often testing, elusive, but ultimately the bridge to the deeper truth. In-game Hornet fits this perfectly. She is the sister who challenges the knight. She does not coddle, she tests your resolve. She guides you to the cast-off shell and eventually to the abyss. She is the psychological force pushing the knight toward individuation. Shadow. The goal of Jungian psychology is individuation, integrating the shadow to become a whole self. In the game, the knight descends into the abyss, accepts their siblings, and unites with the void. They stop suppressing the shadow and become it. This unification allows them to defeat the radiance. First, we go deep down into the abyss and face our hidden oppressed personal unconscious. No tree is said can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. The knight literally cannot ascend to the pantheon until they have touched the bottom of the abyss. When we get to the bottom, we get the void heart item in the abyss. It is the symbol of the self. It turns the chaotic shades from enemies into allies. It signifies the knight has stopped fighting their nature and we are now aware of who we are. We have brought the hidden unconscious into the light, personal unconscious, and now we are whole. This is the true nature of the knight. It is the concentrated void and it learns what it has to do. Here we face the personal unconscious. But now we are on a mission to destroy or integrate another oppressed shadow, that oppressed spiritual mind, spiritual nature of us that lingers around, but we just don't know why we are suffering. Why is this plague around us? What is this corruption, collective unconscious? Once we as society integrate the oppressed spiritual part of ours, we stop seeking for the answer in the material world and we find peace within. This is the integration of the radiance. Hollow Knight is a story about a sick psyche that tries to cure itself through repression. It failed, leading to neurosis. The protagonist acts as a therapeutic force, descending into the unconscious to integrate the shadow, and finally dismantle the false structures of the mind and achieve peace and individuation and integrate the inner world of ours with the outer one. Eastern teachings. Eastern meditation often focuses on trying to dissolve the ego. Many Eastern spiritual and mystical traditions emphasize non-duality, ego dissolution, inner emptiness as a path to spiritual awakening. The cycle of suffering, detachment, and liberation often more circular than linear. You're gonna look at the Buddhist emptiness. It's the same story. You wanna be absent of ego and be empty. Nirvana means extinguishing the flame of ego. It dissolves attachment and ends suffering by dissolving identity. Just like the void, it dissolves form. It frees beings from radiance's influence. It reabsorbs vessels into their formless source. It is the only force capable of ending radiance, and the true ending depicts the radiance consumed by emptiness. Void is not evil, it is non-self. In this interpretation, the radiance is the clinging flame, and void is the extinguishing of the flame. Just like nirvana literally means to blow out a flame. Many other Eastern traditions like Taoism and the others talk about similar ideas, but I won't go into the details. You get the idea. Hero's journey. The chosen one type of hero is often paired with the story structure called the hero's journey. Let's analyze on both planes. The inner world, what they meant by it, and the outer world, what actually happens in game. In every storytelling there are always two parallels going on. The real life events and the inner world events. This duality is built in every great story, because every great story is about spiritual transformation. The hero's journey, made by Joseph Campbell, reflects on this duality. The structure, departure, initiation, and return mirrors psychological transformation. The hero symbolically journeys into the unknown, the unconscious, faces trials, achieves transformation, then returns changed, as a metaphor for inner growth, individuation, and deeper awareness of the not so hidden anymore psyche. Myths, according to Campbell, serve multiple functions: mystical, connecting to mystery; cosmological, giving meaning to the universe; sociological, validating social norms; and psychological, helping individuals grow, confronting the deeper unknown psychologically, like Jungian psychology. So in context to Hollow Knight, this is how the 12-act version looks like. 1. Ordinary world. They are in a desolate wasteland outside the kingdom of Hollownest. They are empty, wandering without memory or purpose, separated from the civilization below. 2. Call to adventure. The call is literally the voice of Hollownest, its instinctual draw of the void and to the black egg. 3. Refusal of the call. The knight is hollow, born of God and void, with no will to break. They cannot refuse, so there's no real refusal. 4. Meeting the mentor. We meet several mentors like Elderbug, the Hornet, Quirrell. The Seer teaches the use of essence, and many more NPCs. Crossing the threshold. Number 5. The knight first descends from the Earthmouth into the Forgotten Crossroads. A transition from a relatively safe village to a dangerous ruins mark the point of no return in the journey. 6. Tests and enemies. A lot. 7. Approach to the inmost cave. To understand the true nature, the knight must go to the bottom of the world. To understand what happened to them, to gain true understanding of their purpose, they must understand where they came from, their origin. 8. Ordeal. The crisis. The knight confronts their own siblings, the broken vessels, and their birthplace. They must accept that they are made of void. This is the death of the knight as a bug and the birth of the knight as a Lord Shade. 9. Reward. With the Void Heart, the knight unifies the void under their will. They are no longer just a wanderer, they are the Lord of Shades. And the shades in the abyss no longer attack you, knowing your true identity and what you're capable of. All your functions, not just what you were programmed, all your inner abilities. As you look deep inside, you know you have the power to kill the radiance, not just contain her. The road back. Hornet and the knight go back to Hollow Knight to face the radiance through the dream world using the dream nail. This is the step where Campbell says the hero realizes that the battle was never in the outer world, it was always inside. And also saying that the outer world truly does not hold you back. It is only you who hold yourself back. 11. Resurrection. In Dream No More, the greatest Campbell parallel appears. The hero must die to be reborn. So as the knight defeats the radiance, he then returns to the void, to his true origin. This is the literal hero's resurrection. It is resurrected as a new thing, the void, because that was its true identity to begin with. The final transformation, the rebirth. And 12. Return with the elixir. The elixir is salvation to Hollownest, freedom from the radiance, the completion of the Pale King's failed plan, and the fulfillment of the vessel's purpose. In classical myth fashion, the knight does not return. This is common in myth where the hero is not a person but a cosmic agent, like Christ, Osiris, the Chosen One, etc. How do all these connect? Did you see it? Like all these stories and ideas are very similar. Maybe they approach things from different angle, but they describe very similar ideas. Why do all these stories converge from all these stories and teachings? Do they maybe reveal the same truth? This is why Hollow Knight's story is so great. All these stories must bear relation to reality itself, otherwise it would be meaningless. This is why we never see true representation of an alien in alien movies and only meet human-like aliens, so we can relate to them, and our interactions can therefore be meaningful with them. Relatedness is fundamental in storytelling, and this is why these stories are timeless. They tap into this fundamental truth about human nature and our societies. Sometimes these different schools of thoughts approach things from a different angle, but often arrive at the same place, or at least often overlap in major ways. The Chosen One. Let's take a quick look at the Matrix. The Hollow Knight literally follows the path of Neo, and Neo follows the path of Jesus. It's literally all the same story. Neo is the one. There were ones before Neo, and will be after, unless he breaks the cycle. The cycle, just like Jesus, just like the Knight. The Matrix is a calculating system, all pre-programmed with mathematical precision. It's flawless, perfect by design. It represents law and order, like the Old Testament God. It's the same story like the Bible and the Gnostic teachings. There is a demiurge controlling the material realm, creating the Matrix, controlling our lives, and creating a sick society that is inevitably going to collapse. The Chosen One can break from the Matrix, because they are empty and human, and they had to be ready to sacrifice themselves, to give everything they had in order to save the world, humanity, and the machines, just like the Knight and Jesus had to. Look, he's literally Jesus! All these Chosen One heroes follow the same pattern, come from humble, unremarkable beginnings. They are almost always removed from their true family and raised in obscurity. They must rediscover who they are to claim their own power. Like the Knight, Luke Skywalker, Frodo, Jesus, Harry Potter. They carry exceptional responsibility. Like Frodo, the Knight, Luke, Neo, Jesus, Lisan al-Gaib, Harry Potter. They are special by birth of origin, like the Knight, Jesus, Luke, Lisan al-Gaib, Harry Potter. They are often orphaned or outsiders, like the Knight, Harry Potter, Frodo, Jesus. They face a dark mirror doppelganger. The Knight versus Hollow Knight, Neo versus Mr. Anderson guy, Luke versus Vader, Harry Potter versus Voldemort. They all are driven by higher force, like destiny or prophecies. Jesus, Luke, Neo, Lisan al-Gaib. They are innocent or empty, non-corruptible, like Jesus, Harry Potter, Neo, Luke, Frodo, the Knight. They usually end up dying for a greater cause, like Luke, Neo, Jesus, Harry Potter. Should have died, but Rowling was see? And the Knight. The Knight's true power, the Void Heart, the Knight's true power is only unlocked through the acceptance of its own annihilation. Its strength is literally proportional to its willingness to cease being an individual, to gain that focused void. These stories work because it mirrors human psychological growth, from innocence to maturity. It embodies this mythic structure across cultures and religions. It creates narrative rhythm, loss, challenge, growth, victory, and change. It answers both outside struggle and the inner struggle. Did you see it? All these systems fit perfectly. It's all the same story, the same human struggle and cycle. The Hollow Knight's central drama is universal. The radiance is the Jungian and Eastern ego, the Jungian collective unconscious, and the Gnostic demiurge, the biblical god, essentially the egotistic demanding false god. The Pale King, bringer of consciousness, awareness, and with that identity, technically the biblical devil. A demiurge in Gnosticism, ego-dominated civilization in Jungian ideas, and also individualism, the Jungian persona, attachment to reality or material in Eastern teachings. The Knight being Eastern egolessness, the Jungian individuation process, biblical Jesus, Gnostic spark of true divinity incarnate. The Void is the one true God in Gnostics, or at least similar to the idea of monad. The Jungian shadow itself, or the unknown, the unconscious, Eastern psychological emptiness. Corruption is ego manifest, ruining you. It's Eastern, biblical, and Gnostic, the Jungian oppressed hidden unconscious that will peek out in one way or another regardless of how much you ignore it or try to oppress it. You can't keep ignoring your own human nature. All these stories are about some internal, external God that controls things. Then you need to destroy it by letting go of all things so new things can take its place. It's about society and family. They have similar structure and dynamic. Family just in small, and society is a collection of families, and how these relations affect the individual. A lot of these archetypal stories are also going to be about family dramas, like Star Wars, Hollow Knight, the Bible, Harry Potter. With San Al-Gaib, it's also growing out of parents' control and finding your own way. Even though Hollow Knight is unique in its own way, they don't overlap perfectly, but the overlap is still immense and significant. In every mythic system, Eastern, Gnostic, Jungian, these three forces appear. The Knight resolves tension by transcending ego, surpassing the mentor, returning to the source, dropping the ego, sacrificing self for the whole, getting rid of the old, corrupted structure that plagues the system. This exact structure Campbell, Jung, and the ancient traditions describe. They address the same psychic and spiritual architecture of human experience, the human mind. These systems address core human experience like fear, death, suffering, identity, meaning, redemption, belonging, transformation that are universal to human experience. The circle of life. A story that taps into these resonate broadly. Almost all these systems incorporate some version of fall, suffering, redemption, return, enlightenment. Hollow Knight's cycle of fall, the radiance rise, kingdoms decay, suffering, the infection, descent, the abyss, confrontation, and possible redemption mirrors that structure almost perfectly. The metamythic engine of Hollow Knight works so well because it doesn't just rely on one mythic or symbolic scheme, it draws simultaneously from Jungian psychology, mythic structure, Gnostic metaphysics, Eastern mysticism, and moral mythic biblical symbolism. The core theme. So the entire plot is about suppression of the past is not the solution. Suppression of the inner nature is not the solution. Self-determination with true inner nature is the solution. All systems collapse, empires collapse. Hollowness collapses because it refuses people's humanity and puts order above one's humanity. It worships false transcendence in the form of the Pale King. It fails to unify or mediate between the two realms, spiritual and material, and has the wrong toxic approach to solve the radiance question, failure to understand human nature and our true origins. Blocking the radiance is not the answer but to integrate it. It's about spiritual versus material world and how they clash in a societal scale that inevitably brings the downfall of every empire because we lose the connection to the human and follows the materialistic and individualist greed and hubris. And it's also about the illusion of the self and identity. Clinging to it blocks you from being able to adapt to a different new reality. Okay, let's take a look at the endings. Ending 1. Our knight replaces the Hollow Knight in the Black Egg. With this, we end up perpetuating the already broken system, prolonging the inevitable collapse of Hollowness. Since our knight is not also fully hollow, he also has an ego, therefore he is doomed to doom Hollowness as well as the Hollow Knight. We have a fundamental issue here, as we don't break the cycle. This is not a solution to the problem, but running away from the problem. You see, in the first ending we failed by following the Pale King's instructions. Pale King chose to not interact with the radiance and understand it. All he saw is plague and plague equals bad, so he wanted to destroy it, removing a part of the human psyche that is fundamental to our nature. This fundamental misunderstanding is the downfall of the kingdom. No meaning, only the material gains, no spiritual fulfillment, only one's ego and might and decadent lifestyle. The radiance worship is the spiritual connection with the soul. When you turn away from it and only seek pleasure from the material, you get corrupted. Ignorance of your soul and finding meaning there, and then seeking it in the outer world is the failure of today's society. like consumerism. When we only care about the law and we ignore the human element and we just follow orders, we simply cease to be humans. Listen, I'm a Pale King apologist, okay? But maybe the previous interpretations online were kind of wrong about the Radiance. The Radiance didn't really get angry. I mean, the Radiance doesn't really exist in the strict sense to begin with. It's in the minds of bugs. It's not real. It's in your mind. You are the Radiance. It's you. It's that spark. Your own mind rebels. You rebel. Your very being rebels against the purely materialized consumer society that has no care for humanity. You need to integrate the shadow, Neo. It's all about the synthesis, Neo. Integrate the two universes for fulfilled life, Neo. Leave the Matrix, Neo. And eat the porridge with me. Where was I? So there's only a Pale King and his subjects and their relationship. And the Radiance being that soul, that connection we lost with the spiritual through pure materialism. Ending 3. We realize the real issue is not the Hollow Knight, but we must confront the dream itself in the dream realm. So we get the Hollow Knight and enter the dream realm where the Radiance resides and destroy her. This is the time when we finally face that hidden oppressed nature of ours, individually, culturally, that human nature is in us, and defeat it by confronting it. This is the true ending. We break the cycle of dumb sacrifices and we address the true underlying issue, our human nature. Instead of oppressing it and create fallible structures, laws that are incapable of capturing our human nature that we would blindly follow, we rather focus on understanding it by going deep down into our soul and finally facing what truly lies there. Team Shirley said they don't like true endings, but I'll go ahead and consider this one the true ending. The God Seekers. The God Seekers seek the ultimate God that trumps all, the strongest God, like collecting Pokemon cards or Goku or something. They chill in the dream realm where you fight all the gods and powerful figures. They seek to worship the strongest God without any consideration to meaning or anything. All they're interested in is just the pure divine. What could go wrong? We get to have 2 extra endings in this DLC. In the first ending, after defeating the Ultra Mega Deluxe Absolute Radiance, they finally realize who is the real God, the God of gods. It's the Void. So they start to worship the Void, which started to leak out of the Godseeker's realm, seemingly consuming the world of Hollow Knight. Not good. The Void is not the answer. Void is not a religion, not a way of life. It has no teachings, it has zero order, but it is the dissolver of everything, the destruction of everything. Team Chern is telling us that this story was not about telling us that the answer is the Void worship, but something that resets, to build a new order from chaos. It's part of a process, rather than itself being the answer to our problems. We need structure, a society, a way of coexistence, a new system that emerges from a corrupted old one, and we learn from the past mistakes and return stronger. Void gives you nothing. It's not even real, it's non-existence, it's formlessness. You want to exist, don't you? Even removing all your ego, it would give you an inanimate body, as we discussed previously. You cannot be fully empty. The goal is not to have no ego, but to recognize this existing process. You are not permanently stuck in this current identity of yours. To find that deep inside of you, to adapt, to be able to let things go as a process, but not the answer, not something to become. Full emptiness is desirelessness. You're trying to achieve things, and in context to that, there is a right and a wrong answer. Do not mistake the abyss for a throne. The abyss is not the end. It is a process to regain a new self. The plant. So you can get this plant and give it to the God Seekers. Now when you defeat the Ultra Mega Deluxe Absolute Radiance, the God Seekers just disappear. What is this magic plant? It's It's called a delicate flower that breaks if you are not good enough. It's fragile, it easily breaks, sensitive. It's love. I can't fucking believe it. The answer is love. That's right. It's the friends we made along the way. Love and compassion. The answer is Jesus. It's Jesus. Jesus loves you. Wow. Well played, Team Cherry. It's just the friends we made along the way. Hollow Knight doesn't give us an answer how to build a new society. It gives us a recipe. This is what will help us create a better system that is built on compassion and humanity. There is no structure or system that is eternal. Power corrupts, and more the time goes on, the more the system necessarily gets more corrupted, therefore leading to its inevitable eventual downfall. The more people seek the answer to life in the material, the more detached they get from their souls, and it leading to corruption. Hence the answer is love and compassion and Jesus, and simply just spiritual well-being. Everyone wants to have war, but when everything collapses, all that remains is the desperation for humanity. Where there none left, all we will desire is compassion and love, because we will have nothing else left but each other. So what could possibly be the answer? That is not law and sacrifice, nor it is void. And if we go beyond love just for a second, what if we transcend the whole picture? What do we see then? A pattern following and embracing balance. Homeostasis, the yin and yang. The system will always be in movement, in a process of evolving, crashing, and rebirth. We need to find the answer by being aware of all sides of the story, and based on that being aware of the circumstances, putting it into context, and then making the right decisions, both humanity and order. There's no static answer that will solve all our issues forever. The right answer will always be different based on circumstances, environment, etc. This is how we keep balance. And sometimes that means we have to embrace the void and destroy an aspect of the system so it can be born anew. This is why it's the story of all stories. This is simultaneously a commentary on the cyclical nature of society's rise and fall through the dynamic of materialism, spiritualism, family dynamic between father's law and order, and the sons breaking free from it, and the personal psychological journey like hero's journey, individuation, personal development, enlightenment through self-knowledge. And now you truly understand the mythic engine of Hollow Knight. If the void and falling is a defining factor of Hollow Knight, Silksong is a new beginning, with hope, courage, strength, and faith, despite the corrosion of a system that is on a brink of total collapse. Silksong is way more explicit on its religious themes. Should we do that next? If you like this video analysis, there's more to come. Subscribe. It would help a lot if you click the buttons down below. Very cool of you, thank you. I also have a Patreon if you want to put some faith in the channel or something. Okay, so Silksong next. And in the meantime, have you ever thought about what is a 6.5 score for a movie mean? Or what is a 4? How do you truly discern what is a good and what is a bad movie? If you're curious, check out this video. And yeah, that's it. Bye. This is a better than average show. Maybe it's even a good show. Wrong! Because that would imply this show is a good show, which is actually objectively garbage. What are these shows? What do these numbers even mean? I just want to watch a good movie. What is wrong with you? Help me! What do the numbers even mean? Numbers? Yeah. Who cares anyways? I know. Let's just read the reviews. All scores are off anyways, filled with noise and bias and... Okay, these people suck! So stupid! What are they even saying?